Move over, Oshinoko, and My Life as Inukai-san's dog, because this is the best anime of 2023 so far. In my opinion, obviously. I haven't seen every single show of the year. Please don't yell at me, I'm literally just a little guy. Heavenly Delusion is a post-apocalyptic mystery adventure produced by Production IG, the studio behind the earlier seasons of Attack on Titan before Mappa took over, Haikyuu, Psycho-Pass, tons of other stuff. It follows two simultaneous storylines inside a weirdly bright and immaculate academy that's completely shut off from the outside world. A group of children are being raised by robots. At first glance, this place appears to be a paradise where everyone's basic needs are met and the kids are able to play and learn without having to worry about safety or the realities of the harsh world outside. But being completely isolated, they have absolutely no knowledge of not only what the outside world is like, but also human concepts in general. So much so that they're learning for the first time completely on their own about concepts like love, lust, and gender. And there seems to be something going on with cloning or gene modification or something. It's unclear, but there's definitely some Promised Neverland stuff going on here. One day, a girl named Tokyo is taking a test when her sci-fi iPad glitches out and shows a message that reads, "Do you want to go outside the outside?" Meanwhile, outside the outside, Maru, a teenage boy, and Kiriko, the older girl he apparently hired to be his bodyguard, are wandering through the post-apocalyptic world and searching for a place called Heaven, while Kiriko also searches to reunite with someone from her past. They know almost nothing about what it is they're actually looking for, or even if it really exists, and nobody seems to even be sure what caused the apocalypse 15 years ago, or why the world is infested with these terrifying monsters known as man-eaters. As Maru and Kiriko make their way through the wasteland, scavenging for scraps of food and information, they come across various small communities of people that have popped up since the disaster 15 years ago. And as they find themselves wrapped up in the lives and conflicts of the people they meet along their journey, they have to grapple with death, sexuality, giant scary monsters, etc. And while they seemingly haven't known each other for long, they quickly form the type of close bond that only comes from dealing with these things together and support each other to keep pushing forward. Fair warning, this show gets dark at times. Content warning for sexual assault. But with a perfect mix of adventure, comedy, and tragedy, Heavenly Delusion deals with some serious themes with compassion and levity, and does a great job of showing and not telling. We as the audience know very little about the world or its past, and we only gradually learn as the characters do. The story doesn't feel the need to inundate you with a whole load of exposition, instead allowing you to gradually pick things up through intuition and ask yourself questions like, why do Maru and Tokyo look so similar? Why does this one girl keep staring at the ceiling? And why does this kid's drawing from the inside Heaven look so much like this man-eater on the outside? While there are plenty of fantastical sci-fi elements, at its core, this post-apocalyptic world feels refreshingly grounded and realistic, while also not being like Walking Dead-style torture porn.
Oh, no.
The kids do deal with a lot of dark realities, like I mentioned, but there's a childlike spirit of adventure that can never be extinguished. Not to mention what initially got me interested, every single second of this show looks incredible. I don't know which impressed me more. On the one hand, an aspect that sometimes doesn't get enough attention, the background art, is painterly and incredibly detailed and depicts a world that has decayed and been reclaimed by nature. In keeping with the theme of hope and whimsy in dark times, the shattered remnants of human civilization are now inhabited instead by the lush greenery of the natural world. To me, it's like the grass regrowing on the mountain at the end of Princess Mononoke. On the other hand, the foreground animation is just as vivid and attention-grabbing. Now, I'm just as much of a slut for some mind-melting Sakuga moments as the next freaky little green creature, and there's plenty of that in here too. Like this insane cut, mostly by Ryo Araki, but what really impresses me is... Okay, actually, I am going to talk about this a little bit. I can't stop myself. The use of the 3D space as this guy charges at Maru. The way it looks like somebody is filming this handheld and the camera swings around trying to keep up with Maru's wild movements. The way this guy's head twists left for only one frame and then snaps back. This incredibly sick swinging 3D shot where the camera phases through the fence to emphasize this moment. It's also cool, but what really impresses me is when the same level of attention is given to the subtler character moments as to the big action scenes. I've talked a bit before about a few of Disney's 12 principles of animation, namely timing, anticipation, and follow-through, but today I want to talk about another one, solid drawing. A skilled animator with a strength in solid drawing has a good sense of three-dimensional space and is able to give their drawings an accurate feeling of volume, shape, and weight, and is able to show that through light, shadow, and detail. Throughout the entire first episode, I kept kept asking myself if shots were rotoscoped, whether from live action or 3D renders, because the drawings just looked so flippin' solid. Let's really quickly take a look at this simple scene where Kiriko and Maru are doing some treasure hunting around this residential neighborhood. Obviously, the background and characters are drawn in two completely different styles, the characters with cell shading and hard outlines, the background with no outlines and what looks like soft watercolors, but nevertheless, the characters feel so grounded, like they're part of this environment. Look at the way Kiriko steps out of the shadow cast by this building, and this is probably credit to the storyboard artist who... I just looked it up, is also the director of this episode and the director of the show as a whole, Hirotaka Mori. But they've chosen to portray this shot in a slightly wide angle. I'd say this is mimicking about a 28mm lens. It's kind of rare to see wide angle shots like this in anime. I feel like usually they only really go either telephoto or super wide to get super wacky, or for the classic going insane fisheye shot.
Oh, brilliant!
But in this case, the wide angle effect allows us to see the character's feet, planting them firmly within the location, and it also ever so slightly distorts Kiriko's body, so as she gets closer to the camera, her torso and head get bigger relative to the rest of her body, while her legs get ever so slightly foreshortened. And the sense of volume is insane. It's not like these character designs are packed with details or anything, but everything feels like it has weight and form to it, down to the way that the ankles of Kiriko's shoes rotate towards the camera as she takes a step, or the way her pants wrinkle and unwrinkle around her knees. And as she rotates her chest to look around, the edge of her jacket rotates toward the camera and gives such a perfect sense of volume that it feels like if I could reach through the screen and steal it from her, I could practically imagine exactly what it would be shaped like and how it would fit on my own body. I haven't drawn the drawing that's gonna go here yet, but I'm sure it won't do the original justice. Unrelated, but I also just found this cut really funny.
Wonder how a place like this was left alone for so long. Even the windows are barely broken.
The animation quality is of course at its best in the first episode, but it really doesn't dip to any noticeable degree. It starts off exquisite and really doesn't let you down the whole way through. Side note, the English dub is really good too. I found Maru's English voice particularly endearing for some reason.
Sis! Got some unopened toilet paper here!
I really didn't know what I was expecting going into this show, but I was blown away right from the start. Let's hope it can keep up those good expectations. I'll be looking forward to a season 2 if it gets renewed, and I might just have to read it regardless. I don't know.